'Twas the run before Christmas, when all along the trail not a runner was running, not even a snail. The Injijis were hung by the chimney with care, in the hopes that Paul Commons would come running by there. The runners were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of Freddos danced through their heads. Jenny in her dry robe, and Tim in his cap, had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the Blue Bridge there arose such a clatter, I ran back from Gino's to see what was the matter. And over that Blue Bridge I flew like a flash, ran back to the Weir pub, winded by my dash. And the moon on the Thames path with new fallen snow gave the lustre of midday to the aid station below, when what to my wondering eye should appear but a tiny sleigh, Simon, and 8 pints of beer. With a mustachioed driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Rik. Rapid as a cowboy his runners they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Kirsty, now Susan, now Kerry and Enda, on Catherine, on Yvonne, on Karen and Gemma. To the top of the Weir, to the top of the bridge. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all.
How are you, Rob? You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good. And
Didn't you enjoy that? I crafted that.
No, it's good. That'll put them all to sleep
Over a
before you've
bottle of
even
red.
begun, wouldn't it?
Well, that's the point. It's a lovely rhyme. Oh, yeah.
Rick, did you enjoy that?
I did. Very good.
Okay. bit of a weird start, isn't it? So
You put it wherever you want. At
Right.
the end of the episode or something.
Yeah,
I don't know,
might-
because our outros are all crap, or it'll somehow get lost in the edit. But...
Yeah. Okay. So, welcome
Keep
everyone. As you you've probably been alluded to now, we've got a big whale tonight. We've got Mr. Rik Vercoe. Most of
Another whale.
Yeah. Most of the people know this guy from Phoenix Running. He's the race director. He's the one that we keep harping on around whenever we mention the towpath, the River Thames, Walton, Phoenix, Global Marathon Challenges, all these...
Surrey,
South East.
just heavily, yeah.
But we don't really want to talk to him about any of that this evening. He's actually invited me round to his man cave, which is amazing. So me and Rob have been here before, haven't we? And it was barren. But now he's kitted it all out, and he's got... It's like Don Corleone's study, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a night where a nice Bond villain would live.
A nice bomb, yeah. And he's got all of his medals. How many are there up on the wall here, Rick?
Oh, I don't know. Probably about 400 or so on the wall.
400. Marathon or above, or?
Yeah, mostly marathons and ultras. I've done 323 marathons and ultras, so there's some other medals up here from other distances, but it's mostly marathons and...
I mean, that one looks pretty organised. What's in that cabinet? What's that
So
one?
that's the Relentless Series medals. So there's 29 medals in there, and that's from the Relentless Ultra Running Limited series that I did in 2013, where we started at the Scottish borders and in the Pennines and then ran through all the counties in England over 29 days.
Wow.
So those medals are definitely a series.
Okay, well, they look like a series, don't they? That one can't be right, because that's an Enigma one. It actually looks decent.
Yeah, that's from the olden days.
Simon.
Sorry, Fox. I'm joking. It's a quality outfit, Enigma. But yeah, that's a big one. Was that like the first one ever, or? Oh, hang on. Is that your 100th?
Yeah. So my 100th was in 2012. So that would be a 2012 Foxy medal, one of the square ones with double spinners in it.
So Robbie's got it on the band. It says, "I ran my 100th official marathon with Enigma running," and it's got a nice big square.
Oh,
medal
wow.
with- yeah.
Round that bloody lake.
Round that lake.
Was it Caldecott Lake?
Yeah, it was Caldecott, yeah.
When was the last time you ran round Caldecott Lake?
I ran around there a lot in 2013, so probably 2013. So I think I've done about 55 plus marathons around Caldecott.
Ooh.
So I know every inch of that lake intimately.
Yeah, I mean, I love it there.
Yeah,
do
it's
you
good.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I like it, yeah.
I think one of the reasons why, and I don't really want to get involved with race directing yet, but how it survives is the scenery, in my opinion.
Well, I've always liked the lap format as well.
Yeah. And
I think in the summer it looks so different to the winter, though. In the summer, I get it, but it's quite easy to find yourself on your own as a slower runner around Caldecott. It's just so big.
Right, have we got an episode planned tonight, Rob, or are we just going to ad-lib the whole shebang?
Yeah, we've got a plan.
Yeah,
but,
always got a plan.
Always got a plan. It's whether we stick to it or not is the interesting one. So yeah, let's do the usual, Simon. Who won the last Strava competition? Or we set up another one?
Yeah, so I've just had a look. It was blimmin' Paul Commons for the most elevation.
Oh.
Yeah, which is
What's he got?
bit
Fridge
dull,
magnet?
isn't it? Well, he can have what he wants. Fridge magnet, beer mat. I'm not fussed.
You're so invested.
Yeah, the Strava. Yeah. So well done, Paul Commons. You've won either a fridge magnet or a beer mat or both.
And because it's Christmas, I'm going to give you a buff.
Really?
Yeah.
Why are you setting fire to that again?
I'm not. I'm just feeling Christmassy.
Oh,
I know you
God.
don't get that, but it's nice to give things at Christmas, isn't
I mean,
it?
are we all feeling Christmassy, lads? I mean, this is going to go out Christmas Eve, so
Of course.
yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't not miss Rick's house. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Seriously, Rob, the road, it just looked like all the electricity in the road is filtered to one house here.
Yeah. I don't externally project Christmas, but like internally, I'm just like, I don't know, full of red, gold, and green all the
Well,
time.
what are you boys doing for the big day? Rick, what are you up to?
We're here. Yeah, so we're here just with the girls, and then we're doing the family thing in the afternoon, and then down to see my mum on Boxing Day.
Where's Mum?
She's in Somerset.
Very nice. Okay. And then that's it. And then what are you doing New Year? Anything? Do you do New Year? 'Cause
Yeah, so New Year this year we're going down to see some old friends. So there's a whole load of us going down. They got a big house down in Farnham, so we're down there probably from, I don't know, about 5 o'clock onwards. We'll take the kids. They've all got kids. There'll be kids everywhere. And then
How'd you have the energy?
they'll just stay up late, and we'll stay up late, and then we'll drive home late, and it'll be great.
Right.
Wow.
He's actually convincing me, though. It's not like he's not making faces. Rob, what are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow on the big day?
It'd be illegal not to go to my mum's house. I think I would actually be shot.
Met your
Even
mum?
when I say, yeah.
We all met your mum
Yeah,
last week, didn't we?
She's brilliant. But she's Mother Christmas, and you know, Christmas is very, very specifically regimented. There's sausage rolls at 11. There's breakfast for those. There's amazing dinner. There's just wine all over the place, and and you know how good she is at making cakes. She's that good
Yes.
at everything else too.
She
It's
certainly does know how to
terrifying.
make a cake, doesn't she?
It's so good, it's almost a chore, but no, it's the best thing ever, and it's lovely to sort of pretend you're a kid again, even though you're literally 33.
Do you get weighted on hands and feet?
Oh, yeah. you try and help, you get in trouble. Even when I said, I might run the Christmas park run on Christmas Day.
Do you do park running, Rick?
Yeah, sometimes. Not. We haven't done one for a while, but yeah, I might go and do.
When
New
is the
Year.
last time you did run anything?
Probably was a park run actually.
But you don't know.
No, probably that'd be probably a year or so ago.
I mean, I did
maybe a
actually
bit less.
see you. I lapped you at a.
Oh, it was actually,
Saturday
yeah.
10 in 10.
run.
That would have been one of the last times I ran. I ran a
Yeah.
half marathon there, I think.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weren't looking healthy.
No, it's not. It's not that easy when you don't practice.
Yeah. Okay.
Ugh.
So you've given us you haven't given us a spreadsheet, but you've given us a summary of your running. I mean, I don't know how many of your customers really ever ask you, or
Not
or
very many,
mention it.
actually. Not that many. I mean,
Yeah.
you've asked me about it. A couple
Yeah.
of other people asked me about it. It's
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Before we delve into it, why did it stop?
I just kind of ran out of time, really. So when I was running a lot, I mean, I was never any good at running. I just did a lot of it, and
Yeah.
I worked hard at it.
Yeah.
So, and if you work hard at something, you generally get a bit better at it. And I did it sort of probably for about 5 years seriously, and then, I had other stuff to do. Namely a family, and I wanted to start Phoenix running and stuff like that. So there's just not enough time to do all of it. So Louise and I had a bit of a deal that I could do my running for a certain amount of time. I could have my big year in 2013, which was all kind of planned out.
Right.
And then the deal was that the focus would change.
I'm
So,
I'm
it did.
amazed that because it is, me and Rob, it is an addiction, isn't it?
Yeah,
At some
Little
sort
bit.
of level.
Yeah, I think it's more of an obsession, or it was for me anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm there. It's an obsession. I mean, how I just can't fathom how you manage to keep the pact.
That's just
Yeah, and to go basically cold turkey from like 100 miles an hour, just slam the brakes on, and then I don't know, not feel tempted to go back and just have another line of it or whatever. So yeah,
I mean,
I
let's
struggle.
just let the listeners right. So this is some of the things Rik Vercoe has done in his time, right? Polar Circle Marathon. Never even heard of that one. It's in Greenland. You finished 7th.
So that was one of the that was in the early days.
Yeah,
that was
2009.
2009. Yeah.
Okay, North Pole Marathon. I always quote that one whenever anyone asks me about you. That's 2010. You finished 2nd.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, same year, Great Wall of China.
Jeez.
2011 treadmill marathon in the shop window of a sweatshop.
Oh.
Yeah, that was good fun. That was a charity one that I did through work. So we had offices in the Arndale Centre in Manchester, and the sweatshop is right smack in the middle of the centre there. So I had a chat with the guy. I used to go out on a Tuesday when I stayed up there when I was sort of doing some work out of the offices there. And I used to go out with their Tuesday night running group, and I said, "Oh, you've got some good treadmills. I quite fancy doing a marathon on a treadmill." And he said, "Well, I'll put it in the window if you do it." So one thing led to another. So it's just you? Yeah, it was just me. So we stuck a treadmill in the window. Thank goodness we had a great big fan in the treadmill. And then they had guys out there with collection buckets, and I set the treadmill up, ran round.
Wow.
Didn't have fans at my treadmill marathon. Okay, and it continues. So I mean, I get it. These are massive ones, really, aren't they? That we're talking about. Marathon des Sables becoming a very corporate affair now, I think.
Did it before it was cool.
Yeah. But, well, I don't know, actually. I mean, Marathon des Sables, it's one of those things that when people ask me about it, I think I would always say to anybody who's thinking about doing it, do it.
Just get it done.
I'd say it to you, Simon. It'd be the sort of thing you would love to do. And it is very commercial and it's very corporate from the perspective that these guys have been doing it, I don't know what it is now. When I did it was about 28 years, so it's got to be about 34, 35 years they've been going now. So, Patrick Bauer and his guys, they know how to get 1,000 people in and out of the desert over 7 days as safely as is possible. Yeah. So from that perspective, it's quite commercial, but it is still just a brilliant experience. It's 7 days, self-contained, running across the desert. And for me, probably the two big adventure races that I did were the North Pole and the MDS, because I'm such a sort of a planner and an executor of plans. For me, planning the events probably took a year for each one of those. So for North Pole Marathon, I trained for 14 months for that, basically. I gave up alcohol completely for that period.
Oh my God. Rob, get him off.
I stopped smoking.
14 months.
14 months. Without a drop, and then I did stuff like I gradually built my pack up. The people that were running at that sort of time would remember that I think for 4 months before I went out to the desert in April, I didn't do a single marathon without my pack on. So by the time I got there, it was like a second skin. I didn't even notice it was on.
Yeah.
So
did I read somewhere you had a bit of problem with shoes?
Not really. I mean, everybody has a problem with shoes out there. It just if you don't get your feet absolutely mauled, then you're doing something wrong. And I didn't see anybody that wasn't kind of walking around like they were in a,
So what you're saying, Rick, is you can't go twice around a football pitch and then just turn up to the North Pole.
Well, I didn't for those races.
No.
But I mean, it would work for you, Rob.
Again, you finished when you did it in 2013, 39th, weren't you, out of over 1,000 people, which I think if you finish under 50, if you're elite, is it?
Yeah, top 50 is elite, and that's what I when I sort of did these races that I wanted to do as kind of lifetime races, I'd always start by making a list of the things that I would want to achieve. So you start with the kind of the perfect scenario, the sort of the dream, and then you work backwards to the reality. And one of the things on my list was to finish in the top 50. I didn't actually really think I'd do it.
No.
But as the first couple of days unfolded, then it became a possibility, and then I went for it.
And were you with your wife at this time?
Yeah.
2013. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we've been together a long time.
Yeah. Okay. So 2013. I mean, that's what kicked it off. Then really, Marathon des Sables that year.
Yeah. Probably.
Same year. I always pronounce this wrong. Brathay.
Yeah.
Brathay. 10 in 10. So that's round Windermere Lake, isn't it? Every day for 10 days. I've seen that.
That's not easy.
I've seen that on the YouTube or something in there.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favourite events, Brathay. I mean, I've only done it once. I've thought about going back, but actually, I had such a good time the first time. I don't want to go back.
And then, same year, Irish 10 in 10, same year, Long Beach, 14 in 14. Was that a 14 in 14 event?
So it was 2 7-in-7s back to back, and then actually the day before I flew home, I did a 2-in-1, so I actually did 16 in 15. But the series that I went out there for was these 2 7-in-7s.
Okay, and this is also in those 14 days where you set the world record for 10 in 10.
Yeah, so I had it in my head to go for that record if I was in good enough shape.
What was there a record previously, or was it something you were going to set? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what was it previously?
I mean, I can give you the whole history of the 10 in 10 if you've got all night, but the record previously was Adam Holland's.
Yes.
So, and it was, I think at the time, it was somewhere around the sort of 32-hour mark.
Right,
something like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to beat the record, but I also wanted to try and take it sub 30 hours.
Which you did.
Which I did, just by the skin of my teeth.
For the people who can't do the maths, though, that's under 3 hours every day for 10 days.
2:59:30 average, right, Rick?
That's right, yeah. So I did.
Amazing.
I actually did.
What in God's name was your body thinking during that?
Well, do you know what? By the time I did that in December 2013, I'd probably been training for it for 5 years without having any idea that I'd been training for it for 5 years, if that makes sense. Because my whole kind of running was a sort of natural progression, I suppose. You sort of do one thing, you want to go a little bit faster, you want to do more days on the trot, and you just want to keep pushing yourself, I guess, to see how far you can go until you break. And by the time I got to that, I had been running marathons almost every day for quite a while, and so actually it wasn't quite as stressful as I thought it would be, and I had a decent routine for kind of running, fueling, getting in the ice bath for 10 minutes.
Bottle of wine every evening?
Certainly quite a few beers.
Isn't that what you told Rob to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
10 in 10.
Oh, it's yeah.
I think Rick just said do whatever you did.
Do whatever comes naturally.
Do whatever comes naturally.
I mean,
this is sitting on the lock with chips and wine.
This is annoying because we're going to cross over again here. But I want to, now that we're on it. So we've got the 10 in 10 that Phoenix are doing next year, and the 2020. What, as a runner, what advice would you give these lunatics that are signing up to this?
So the first advice I would give anybody thinking about doing a 10 in 10, or the first question I would ask you is, have you run any distance for 10 days consecutively? And the answer is usually no, unless you've done a 10 in 10 previously, and therefore you've got a goal, you want to go faster or whatever. So the first thing I normally say to people, if you're thinking of doing a 10 in 10, most people have probably done at least back-to-backs. So pick a point in time in a good few months before the 10 in 10, and then pick a distance, depending on what it is you're trying to achieve. Maybe you're going to go out and run 2 miles a day, every day, for 10 days, or 5 kilometres a day, every day for 10 days. Try and do it at the same time of day every day, so that you get into a routine. And just go and do that and see how you get on.
This is so far from what me and I guess Rob were doing for this stuff.
Yes.
It's just so regimented, Rick. I didn't really know that you were like this.
Well, I suppose I was with my own running.
Yeah.
I was always. I'm very sort of target and goal oriented. So I was always sort of setting times and distances and things I wanted to do, and that I suppose drove it. In terms of training, ultimately my marathon running became my training, which is not necessarily the right thing.
No,
but it just does, because there's only so many hours in a day.
That's where we all, that's
you
where
run out of time.
That's where the guys on the circuit are now, isn't it?
Yeah,
are running. We do the marathon every week, or whatever, and that is it.
Yeah, but don't necessarily get faster doing that, do you? So, or even thinner.
But that's where cross training comes in and stuff like that. So core body strength, some cross training.
So you hit in the gym, Rick, to get all that sort of like core strength from that speed.
Yeah. So
what were you doing?
So gym, especially through 2013 and actually probably mostly through 2012 actually, in the build up to 2013, which was planned to be a big year. So I did 3 or 4 gym sessions a week. A lot of lighter reps because I didn't want to put body weight on, but I wanted to work on sort of lean muscle.
Yeah.
So plenty of body reps, squats, all that kind of stuff, but a lot of work on the upper body.
Were you ever injured at all? Were you ever injured during this?
Not really. I did pick up the worst injury I ever had was during 2013, and I actually had to take 6 weeks out during the year. I missed 22 I had 20 events cancelled during that point in time. But I had to take 6 weeks out and that was right after the Irish 10 in 10, so it would have been July that year. And about a mile from the finish on the last day, day 10, I sort of felt the right-hand side of my tibia sort of start to go. I didn't really know what it was at the time. But what had basically happened was, the temperature over there during that 10 in 10 was, 32, 33 degrees.
Yeah.
And we were all running around with, just in our shorts. The guys were bringing us out ice poles and throwing water over us. And all the water was running down me after the first 3 days and going into my trainers, which I didn't realise until about day 4. And then I found these huge blisters on the soles of my feet. So it threw my feet out of sync. And then it started putting pressure on the outside of the leg. And it really started to go at the end of day 10. So fortunately, I made it to the finish line. Got home, absolutely couldn't run the next day. Went to the clinic, went to my physio, etc. And it was the very early stages of a stress fracture. So it was straight into the old boot. Cancelled a load of races. Went to my physio and said, "What do I do?" And he said, "Well, you're going to be out for at least 9 weeks." And I said, "Well, I've got Relentless in 6 weeks." So we got 6 weeks to fix it. And fortunately, we managed to, and got me back on track. But that's the worst thing I ever had, really. Yeah.
And then I'm jumping up and back and forth here because this is ridiculous. So, your first marathon, then, did you? Obviously, it was more than 2 laps of a football pitch. I'm getting a hint.
It wasn't.
No.
So my first marathon, I did decide to do some training, but I'd never run more than 10 kilometres when I went out to do my first marathon. So
sorry, you turned up to the start line of London 2014.
2004.
Sorry, 2004.
Yeah.
Having done 10K.
Yeah, Flora London Marathon. And I'd wanted to do the London Marathon since I remember as a kid seeing the first ever marathon. I think it was 1981. And I watched it on telly because it was raining. And I think those were back in the days when the marathon was it wasn't in April. I think it was in March.
Right.
Maybe even in May, actually. And I remember just seeing these guys running and thinking, I'm going to do that one day. And years later, I finally decided to do it. And it all came about because Louise still works for Unilever, who make Flora.
Yeah.
And in a conversation one day, I said, I really want to do the London Marathon one day. She said, well, I'll get you in. I said, sorry?
When back in 2004 then, was it this chaos of charity, ballot, or good friends?
Yeah. I mean,
It
was probably just as hard to get in, although back in those days, if you had been rejected 4 times, the 5th time you were guaranteed.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the only difference. Good. And Louise got me in through her friends and family, and it was still a ballot, actually. So I still had to have my name pulled out of a hat, but it was a 50-50 chance of getting in.
Yeah. So you turned up to the start line having done 10 kilometres.
Turned up to the start line having done 10 kilometres and thought, this is going to be all right.
Yeah.
And I had a bet with my mate Neil, who had run it the year before and had run it in 3:49:20, I think it was, something like that.
I can see where this is going.
And I said,
can see the result.
I'm going to beat you easy, Neil. I'm going to beat you easy. And he was the sort of guy, you look at his split times from that first race, and he went out and ran the first 10K in like 40 minutes, right? Which at that point in time was faster than I could ever run a 10K.
Yeah. Crumbs.
So he basically sprinted the London Marathon, because if you look at his split times, he ran as fast as he could for as long as he could. And of course he ended up walking the last 6 miles.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'm going to do some training there, and I'm obviously going to beat you. So I went out and ran half a dozen 5Ks, half a dozen 10Ks, and thought, right, I'm up for this. And off I went. And my secret weapon, without a shadow of a doubt, was utter naivety in that first race, because...
See, I think you're lucky then. I think you're really lucky, because it's obviously suicide, but...
Well, it wasn't. I went out there and thought, right, I'm going to... so I worked out what I needed to do to beat his time by, I don't know, a minute or so, and then I divided it by 8.
So consistent pace.
Divided it by 8, accounted for, doing the last 2K in 12 minutes, because I run in kilometres, not miles. So I broke it all down, and I think it was saying like 50, I needed to do 54-minute 10Ks or 56-minute 10Ks, whatever it was. Yeah. And so that's what I did. And that is what I did. And I remember getting to about halfway and thinking, this is awful. Yeah. This is really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm so sort of stubborn, and I was hell-bent on doing it. So I just somehow hung in there. And I remember they had those bloody 7-foot wombles. They're still around as far as I can work out. And at 17 miles, this womble went past me. And that was the bit where I nearly stopped. The guy, I don't think he was even wearing trainers. He was wearing Vans, these van things. They probably weren't even laced up. And he went past me and I thought, oh my God, this is it. I've been overtaken by a 7'1" ball. Well, I went past him at 19 miles and it was all I could do not to, stick my elbow in the back of his head.
Yeah.
And, but so I had him. And I remember going through 40k, so around about the 25-mile mark, which is a long embankment. And I couldn't really even have probably told you my name at that point, but I remember looking up, there's a clock there, and just somehow clocking the time, thinking, hold on a minute, I've got to work this out, but I think I'm still on time. I think I've got about 12 minutes.
You must have been carrying a watch.
No, I don't know.
So how did you know your pace and everything?
You got clocks at various points around there.
Jeez.
So
Back in the days where there wasn't technology.
Yeah. So I saw this clock.
People run without it now, don't they? Run by feel.
Well, if I do run again now, I run without it again now.
Sure,
but I was very switched onto it for a while. But so I went through this clock and thought, right, I've got about 12 minutes left, and I gave it everything I had, which wasn't an awful lot, and I was 30 seconds off his pace. Yeah. So he beat me. He won it, won the bet. And I got to the finish line, and it was, all but collapsed, and it was just horrible. And I thought, I'm never going to do this again, like everybody else does.
Yeah, but then, so you said between 2004 and 2010, you ran 27 marathons.
Yeah.
So what happened? When did the idea click? And that's it. Here we go.
So first three were London. So I did 2004, 2005, 2007, I think. So your first one, I believe, Rob, was 2000.
Yeah,
Flora.
It was.
That was my third.
Were you one of the people telling me to get on the pavement if I was going to walk?
No. So that was my third marathon, and then I did sort of a smattering of marathons over those 6 years or so, and it was only really when I got to 2010 that it sort of started to pick up.
Yeah, the madness set in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's quite a familiar story, isn't it? London starts a lot of people off.
Yeah, speaking of madness, though, Rick, which one did you run as a cowboy? I believe
that was
a world record. Do you still hold that?
No, I don't know. I think it's now been beaten. I looked it up the other day. Actually, I hadn't looked at it for ages, and I think a Canadian guy might have taken it to something stupid now.
He did it in 3 hours and 9 minutes as a cowboy. Yeah. Like, what is? Because I know these are you both are world record holders. So these are
say that again, Rob. Say that again.
No,
we didn't hear you, Rob.
Strict criteria. What did you like? What's the criteria for a cowboy? I'm presuming a hat. Do you have to carry a pistol?
Yeah. Well, it was a hat. It was a shirt. It was a waistcoat. It was blue jeans, black leather chaps, and I had to carry a whip for some reason, because obviously all cowboys have whips. I think it's a lasso.
A whip.
They probably didn't want you carrying a gun.
Well, but the thing with Guinness World Records, and certainly with the fancy dress ones, is they give you an outfit. You have to then go and get that outfit, and you get your outfit signed off through a process of photographs and stuff. And you cannot adjust or take off or remove any part of that outfit during the event, or you risk basically the adjudicators saying we didn't wear the outfit for the whole race. So, for example, cowboy hat, you can't take cowboy hat off and put water on your head because you're not wearing the cowboy hat. So I did some things like I cut a hole in the top of the cowboy hat so that I could pour water into it, and that worked pretty well. And then you're wearing a waistcoat over a shirt, so I cut a hole in the back of the shirt to try and sort of let some air flow through. But the one thing you couldn't really do an awful lot about was blue jeans with black leather chaps over the top of them. And
the chafing, chafing.
It was awful. And I really, really, really wanted to take that record under 3 hours, and I was probably on track for about 20 miles or so. And then, there's only so much punishment your undercarriage can take, and I mean, the last 6 miles or so were probably as awful as that first marathon I'd done at London. And I think somebody sent me a photograph, actually, somebody that I didn't know at the time. Posted a photograph, pretty much, in the Phoenix chat room. Said, "Is this you? From that marathon?" I said, "Well, yeah, there weren't that many people dressed as a cowboy." And I'm in the last mile, I think, in that photograph, and I do look like I'm crying.
Nice.
It would be brilliant to see, Rick, because you're obviously such a smiley chap, and usually, and I know the bit you're talking about. It's probably the bit as you're coming back in along towards Westminster.
Yeah, that's
and all
the one.
All the little kids are like, "There's Woody the cowboy," and they want to high-five you, and you're just crying and bleeding.
Yeah, that's right. It's when you turn right at Big Ben, basically, and it's still a long way to go.
I mean, so talking about world records and whatnot. So you've got a list. Some of them are world record Guinness, but then others are listed here. For example, most marathon and ultra marathon lifetime wins, 99. That's a world record, not a Guinness one then.
No, and 88 in 1 year as well is a world record.
Yeah, so those
year.
Those were back in what was that, sort of 2014. So yeah, I mean, I think with any records, there's a lot of people that sort of claim records.
Yeah,
and in my mind, I mean, I had 2 Guinness World Records, and Guinness are the adjudicators of world records. They're a recognised body, and therefore to claim a Guinness World Record, then they need to have signed it off. I mean, my 10 in 10 record took over 14 months for them to
they're not quick, are they? They're not quick.
But they're not normally that slow either. But then I did that right around the time there were a load of sort of problems across the pond with various questions being asked about various people running various races. And they basically changed their criteria and tightened them all up. And my claim was sort of caught in the middle of that, which in some ways I think is a good thing, because had it gone through the old process, then it probably wouldn't have been scrutinised as rigorously as it was. Yeah. So the fact that I got it with the new process, which was much, much tighter, meant that I was happy that it was kind of really a real sort of bona fide, record. I mean, I think these sort of fancy dress records are kind of fun records, and then you've got records that are about, I don't know, multiple marathons or speed or whatever, and those ones probably do come under more scrutiny. So it was a bit of a bummer in some ways that I had to wait so long and sort of didn't know whether I was gonna ever get the record or not. Yeah. But in other ways, once they sort of came back to me and said, it's been ratified, then
it's a sigh of relief, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so the ones then when you've got world records, so as in the most wins.
So those are records that basically at the time there was nobody else that I could find or I knew that had done more than that. And I guess it's probably fair to say that it was recognised within our kind of running group over here. So the most marathon and ultra marathon lifetime wins, I'm on 99. So, and the last time I won something was in 2014. Now at the time, that would have been the most. But there's a young man, obviously, that we all know called Adam Holland, who's come along since then. And I remember having a chat with Adam Holland probably somewhere around sort of 2012, early 2013. And actually he pointed out to me that I'd just hit 50 wins. So it was tracked by a guy in the US, used to basically track this and produce a spreadsheet. And Adam, I mean, now is probably somewhere around 250.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, it's immense.
And you've invited him down to ruin my parade for the 10
That's right.
in 10.
He's coming down for the best holiday ever.
Oh, God's sake.
I told him.
Sorry, before we move away from your accolades, Rick, I've just, while you were just summarising there, I've Googled you. And, well, when it does the predictive search, as soon as I typed in Rik Vercoe, the word marathon was added on for the second favourite search. You've got a Wikipedia entry.
I know. And I don't
You're that big a deal. And you didn't write it yourself.
No, I didn't write
it.
But there's two things about that. First of all, I really didn't write it myself. But secondly, it's actually accurate. Because, quite often with these things, if you have an article done or whatever, it's sort of, and I mean, it's a little bit it's clearly out of date with my age and stuff like that, because I'm a little bit older than
it doesn't really know how old you are, does it? You've got about 43, 44, it says, doesn't it?
That's about right.
That's all right,
that's about right. Yeah, that'll do. I'll take that. But
this is brilliant as well. It's of your cowboy record. However, he was beaten by 39 seconds by the fastest jockey. After completing the race, Rick said, "I have to say that running dressed in pea jeans and leather chaps was not the best of ideas on one of the hottest days of the year so far. Needless to say, I will indeed be walking like a cowboy for at least a week." Who did you say this to? Have you got fans?
But that's the thing, right? I did say that, right? So there's a guy at the end, right? The adjudicators, and there's various other people there, and they give you the certificate, and you get a framed certificate if you go to an adjudicated race. I was saying to Simon earlier, I think there's only 2 that you can go to worldwide where they automatically have Guinness World Record adjudicators, and it's London or Toronto, I think. And so there was this little interview, and I did say that, or something very similar. So I don't know where that's been gotten from to be translated onto a page. But I remember the first time someone pointed that out to me a few years ago, and I went and sort of looked at it, thinking, oh, this will be interesting. And actually, it is quite accurate. So wherever they've got that stuff from.
Oh.
Yeah, wherever.
Chaps.
Well, Simon and I don't have Wikipedia pages, but that's fine.
Not yet, Rob. We don't. This is kicking off, though, isn't it?
I'll write yours later.
Now, have we got time for? Is it? It's New Year's, Christmas Eve, isn't it? Sorry. Have you got a Christmas quiz for us, Rob, to do?
I've got a Christmas quiz. Yeah.
Shall we kick that one off?
Let's kick off with the Christmas quiz.
Go on, then.
Okay, so for the Christmas quiz, guys, what I want you to do, because you're both in the same room, so I can't do one at a time. That sounds wrong. But so if you think you've got the answer, as I read out the question, any time during the question being read, shout out, if you're Simon, jingle bells.
Right.
Because of your antics with the maracas or whatever it was last week.
Yeah.
And Rick, I want you to give a hearty ho ho ho, because they're both 3 syllables, so that's very fair. And if you shout out on the question and you get the answer wrong, I'm taking a point off you. Because, it's not very Christmassy.
Rick is looking at me quite seriously here.
Yeah, well, I'm expecting, I'm impartial, of course, but I'm expecting Rick to nail this.
No guest has ever won the quiz so far.
I need to practice my ho ho ho.
This may be about to change because this is a very festive quiz.
God. Yeah.
But the questions I've sourced are varying difficulty, so even for beginners. So do you know what you have to shout if you are
Jingle bells,
Simon? Yeah, and if you are Rick?
Ho ho ho.
That's it. Right, so fastest finger first, or shout out your words. Yeah. Question 1. Rudolph is known for his shiny red nose.
Ho ho ho.
But what is the name?
Rick's gone for it already.
Right, Rick.
Comet.
Say again.
Comet.
No, what question were you answering?
Oh, what's the name of the reindeer that sits behind him?
Well, it's obviously not the question, is it? Carry on, Rob.
But
What's
the
the
question is, Simon only now.
Yeah.
Rudolph is known for a shiny red nose, but what is the name of Rudolph's dad?
Absolutely no idea. Let's go Noel.
Right,
Santa.
It's Donna.
Donna?
As in Donna the kebab. Well, it's Donna the reindeer, actually, but think about that next time you're having a post-night out snack. Rick, you lose a point because you ho-ho-ho'd.
So I'm winning.
Yeah. Yeah. You know I'm a meandering bugger, so you expect the question to just get turned around. I'm doing it like I've got a future in a quiz show. There'll be a Pound of Runners game coming up next Christmas. Yeah. If I can be bothered. Question 2. Die Hard is my favourite festive film, but which Christmas film has been watched more than any other?
Ho ho ho.
Rick.
Elf.
No.
Surely.
Oh, denied.
It's got to be an old one, hasn't it? Something like, what about Miracle on 34th Street?
No, It's a Wonderful Life.
Of course it is, yeah.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be? Rick, -2, Simon, 0.
I'm doing well so far.
I'll just sit here and say nothing and win.
let him fall on his sword and miss. Question 3. In which country was the gingerbread house originally invented?
Jingle bells.
Okay.
Norway?
Nope, -1.
Ho, ho, ho.
Okay, Rick.
Switzerland.
It's Germany.
Oh.
Switzerland? They invented Toblerones of neutrality.
Well,
right,
and the sound of music.
I think I've made it too hard. Question 4, they get easier. Which company first used Santa Claus in a TV advert?
Ho, ho, ho.
Rick.
Coca-Cola.
That's correct. Back to -1 all. Hooray.
Did you know, here's an interesting fact for you, Rob. Did you know that Coca-Cola are responsible for Santa's clothing being red because actually it used to be green?
Really?
It's true.
Rob. Okay. Good trivia. Hold that thought, because related question, number 5. So before Coca-Cola made Santa red,
Jingle bells.
Sell their product.
Jingle bells.
Oh.
Okay, Simon. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's not going to be green, is it? Yeah, you're going to say which other company or something? McDonald's.
Right, so no. So if your answer's green, I'm going to give you a point.
Yeah, the answer's green.
Only if Rick who it sounds like doesn't know, but Rik can actually name the colour he was immediately before he was changed to be red.
Immediately before? I thought it was green.
Immediately before.
I
Santa
thought-
was originally green. He then went to another colour, which if you can name, you get a point. Or Simon gets half a point if you can't.
Well, I'm going to say blue, but that's me guessing.
That does sound like you guessing, and that is wrong. So Simon gets half a point.
Right.
Santa was actually tan before, as in brown suited, before he went red for Coke.
Oh, brown Santa.
So
enough.
interesting a fact. Yes, in a sense. So -1 to Rik, and Simon, you're back to -half. Well done. Question 6. In what fictitious land was it said to be, and I quote, always winter, but never Christmas?
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Simon,
Narnia.
that's correct.
Yes.
Up to half a point. Wow, I didn't think you read books.
I read the whole series instead of revising for GCSE. Why did I do that?
That's excellent.
Yeah, it's stupid, isn't it?
Well, thank goodness it doesn't show in your diction and manner.
Yeah.
So, question 7. How would you say Merry Christmas in Spanish? No?
No idea.
No.
I'm going to give a clue. There is a song which just repeats these words that is a festive song. No?
No.
No.
Not even for free? Go on, both have a guess.
No.
Come on.
Sorry, Rob, can't.
No idea.
Okay, it's Feliz Navidad, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah.
How do you not know that? Okay,
Obviously.
Slightly related question, but deeply tenuously. Question 8. Kirsty MacColl joined up with the Pogues to sing the Christmas classic The Fairy Tale of New York. But far from a fairy tale, what unusual and nightmarish event caused her untimely death at the age of 41?
Jingle bells, car crash.
Okay, -1.
Thanks.
Rik?
Jingle, ho, ho, ho. Drugs or alcohol overdose?
That was the least Christmassy
Hello.
sentence ever. Okay, well, I said nightmarish event. She was actually run over by a speedboat while swimming with her kids off the coast
Whoa,
of Mexico.
Wow.
And, Feliz Navidad to you, Kirsty MacColl, for giving us so much joy. Taking too soon. Question 9. What's the most popular ornament in the world to put on top of a Christmas tree?
Jingle bells.
Simon?
Star.
No, -1. Rik?
Ho, ho, ho. Fairy.
Okay. I'm going to give you half for fairy because it's an angel.
Hey, you coming on
So-
for Christmas?
I would have said star. I'd have gone with Simon's answer.
All right. Well, don't endorse it now because it's wrong.
Well, obviously it was rubbish.
There's a lot of like a religious law backing up Christmas, so I think a lot of people still go with the traditional angel. I know we do because Mum's partly German. Question 10, Simon, your chance to equal it up because Rik is minus a point ahead of you.
Right.
On the 10th day of Christmas, what would my true love give to me?
No, don't want to risk it. The biscuit.
Who doesn't know the song?
Yeah, I know it's 5 gold rings, 2 turtle doves,
Go the other way.
No, go on, Rik. have a
Your
go.
only chance.
I'm
your
up
only
to
chance.
9 maids of milking with it. I don't know what 10 is.
All right, I'll go for it. 10 fellas marching.
10 lords are leaping.
Oh. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So is this the first time ever then that we've got to hand over a prize?
You're going to have to hand over a prize. God knows what it is, but there'll be a prize, Rik, on Saturday when we come to your run. So look
Okay,
forward
are
to
you
that.
sure you're?
Well done on
Are
being.
you sure your maths
Well done
is
on
right?
being not as Christmassy as I thought you were.
That's not good,
Minus
is
a
it?
half. The
Right,
prize is going to be rubbish, but
Yeah. Okay, well done, Rob.
Thanks for playing the Christmas quiz.
It's right. Right, cheers, Rik, for enduring that.
That's quite all right.
If you had a top 3 events, what would they be?
I'm going to go North Pole number 1. Why
Why is North Pole number 1?
Just because it was the most sort of extreme event that I'd ever done. Needed so much planning. Nothing about it was easy. You had to plan every single thing down to the nth degree, right down to the socks you were wearing and whatever else. So it was a whole adventure. It was a lot more than just one run, and I went into it as an unknown, the dark horse kind of thing, and did all right. So I think that would definitely be up there in the top 3. A very close second, or maybe it's the other way around, but Braithwaite 10 in 10. Mm-hmm. So I mean, 10 in 10 is as a race series. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it when I touched the start line on the very first day, the very first time I did it, and I just love everything about it, because it's not. I think when you say to people 10 marathons in 10 days, the focus is on 10 marathons, and actually. It's not.
It's one race.
It's not that. It's 10 days. So I think the significance is actually the other way around. I think when you realise it's a 10-day event, whether it's 10 half marathons, 10 ultra marathons, 10 events of any distance, the challenge is actually the 10 days, not the marathon.
So hang on. Are you saying... It's not actually when you're on the course on the race. It's the other stuff.
It's not just when you're on the course on the race. It's everything around it.
I really struggled with the stuff off the race.
Yeah.
So I almost used Anadol for toothpaste one morning just because my brain was not with it, and stuff like that. Yeah. But on the actual race, I think I was fine.
It's autopilot, isn't it? Once you're there, it's fine. You just you have to have all those rituals. You can think yourself out. You can psych yourself out in between.
What is
totally?
What is Rik like on a 10 in 10? I mean, are you a drama queen like most of us that were there at Phoenix, or are you really quite focused?
No, I was focused on the 10 in 10. I had a list of things I wanted to do, some methodology that sat behind it in terms of how I was going to ideally do it.
Yeah.
And then I think the most important thing with things like a 10 in 10 is you've got to be relaxed about the whole thing as well. Because if you go into it too sort of uptight and trying to stick to a program in a too regimental way. I always remember...
Not thinking of anyone in particular.
Well, I always remember when I went to Braithwaite, and it was around the time that, I don't know, one of the new Star Trek movies was being released. So on like night 2 or 3, I sort of said to people... Should we go down to the cinema? I'm going to go down to the cinema and I'm going to watch Star Trek. And they looked at me like I was mad. And I'm like, well, okay. Well, not everybody likes Star Trek,
then, is it?
Obviously. But it was it wasn't in the it was like, what, you're gonna leave the campus type thing. I'm like, I'm gonna walk down and stretch my legs.
Was it the best holiday ever, Rik? Then
it was the best holiday ever. I mean, needless to say, I went to see Star Trek by myself, but it was, but it was the best holiday ever.
Because there's people that, I mean, for Braithwaite is what, 15, 20 people, or something like that.
Something like sort of 12 to 20 people. Yeah. 20 people
and,
do it. And
Foxy was there with you in 2013.
Yeah, he was.
So in all the videos there I see, you've just got this bumbling comedian, which is Foxy. I mean, what was he like to live with for 10 days?
Foxy's done it about 6 times, I think. And I think when I did it in 2013, he'd probably done it for 4, 5 or 6 times then.
Yeah.
I didn't share a room with Foxy. I didn't know him as well then as I probably got to know him. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see anybody during the running bit. That's the thing. I literally didn't see anybody.
Yeah.
In some ways, it was a 10-lap time trial for me around Lake Windermere, and. One of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to run all 10 of them in sub 3:30. So I kind of had I had to stick to a time frame. So I couldn't sort of go out particularly easy and
or stop for a coffee, Rob, or emu oil or anything like that.
I was going to say, Rik, you disappointed me because you said when you've got to not take it too seriously. I thought you were going to get well on the half-time coffee and malt loaf break with a bit of emu oil in between. Well, that's how I met Simon.
We stopped for an ice cream most days.
Oh, good. All right, I'll let you off then. That's fine.
If that counts.
That or a cream scone.
Okay, so that's number 2.
So yeah, Braithwaite number 2, and then probably actually it's got to be London. London's got to be up there in my top. I
think
5.
You're only the second person to say London.
I love
Magical,
London.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely love it. I've done it 9 times now, and the only reason I haven't done it 10 times is because I think now that I don't really run anymore, at some point I will run London for the 10th time, and I will try and do it justice. So London, I never went sub 3 at London. And
dear.
And it's, but it's something I would really love to do. And in some ways, I probably sacrificed the opportunity to do that in 2014 for the Cowboy record.
Yeah.
And
most definitely. If you could do that in 3:08.
Whilst I would have liked to have done both those things at the same time, I was probably in good enough shape to have done it if I wasn't wearing jeans.
Yeah.
Although, you can never tell with these things. So, and I think actually it's probably one of the only things that retrospectively looking back, if I had the opportunity to trade back, I would probably trade that record back.
You would trade your fancy dress record?
Yeah, I'd trade that for a sub 3 at London because I quite fancied that. And I went out in 2016, one of the last marathons that I ran, and I did a bit of training in the winter, went out with the aim of kind of that being my last ever marathon, and similar sort of thing. I just didn't have the miles in my legs. I blew up at about 20 miles, and I got around, I think, about 3:16. But I wanted to go out with a sub 3 at London. So London definitely in the top 3.
Do you know
and there's some unfinished business there.
Do you know how many sub 3s you got?
Probably somewhere around 20.
Okay.
20.
And were they couldn't have been painful every day for the 10 in 10, but...
No, but obviously I had a glut of them in the 10 in 10.
Yeah,
7 of them were in the 10 in 10.
Yeah. Oh, Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. Is there a race that you, apart from the sub 3 in London, is there any marathon out there that you'd really love to do, bucket list, that you haven't done?
Probably not single marathon. I fancy the Gobi Desert Race.
Right.
And I fancy the Arctic Marathon. They call it the Arctic Marathon, but it's a multi-day race. So there are a couple of 3-stage races that were kind of on the list, and then I just didn't get around to doing them. So, and I always quite fancied that Jungle Marathon as well. They're all very similar format to MDS. So you have like a sort of 6-7 days of racing. There's a long day with a double marathon. There's a pure marathon day, and I quite fancied the one in the Peruvian jungle, the one up in the Yukon on the Arctic, and then the Gobi Desert. I fancy doing another desert race.
That's multi-day for Canadian ice wilderness, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think with that particular one, you pull a polk. So I think you've got to take all your kit and you pull it along on a polk.
Yeah, and I've got to ask Rick. You've obviously done you've covered almost every kind of part of the runner addict spectrum, but you've never, I suppose, felt the need to do single stage long ultras like 100 miles, have you?
No, and interestingly, I often get asked about 100 milers, and the first thing I say to people is, I'm not really qualified to talk about them because I've never done one. And people say, well, what do you mean you've never done a 100 miler? And yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where they never interested me. And if I'm not interested in something, I find it difficult to do it.
Because it's all the same kind of, I'm not really qualified to say, but I'd say it all falls into the same kind of fitness regimen. I'd say actually doing multi-day marathons, in fact, I've done that a lot of your weekends. It's the thing that I used to get ready for doing 50 miles or 100 miles, because running on tired legs is what it's all about. And you're probably the expert of that. But if you don't fancy it, I've heard plenty of other people say, just don't fancy it. It's just a different kind of torture, isn't it? And it's not... Yeah, you're a speed demon. So
yeah, I mean, I always, again, it was always sort of in the plan. It was always, I always looked at it and thought, well, that's a natural progression. I mean, I did a few 100Ks, and I enjoyed those. And then, during Relentless, I mean, that was, for all intents and purposes, was one great big long run for the best part of 30 days, really. But it wasn't those kind of 100-mile
distances. Does that event
distances.
still exist today, Relentless?
Yeah, nobody ever signs up for it. So the point that I did it, there were only 2 of us, myself and a French runner, Charles, who did it that year. And I think we're still the only 2 finishers of the whole thing. But, it's got single day entry, so we had people that came along and ran with us most days. But we were the only 2 that went, and it's obviously point to point.
Because they're pretty decent medals, aren't they?
Yeah, they're good medals. I mean, Ultra Running Limited, so Steve Rallo, and, when you spend a month...
I have run with Steve. Yeah,
so
he does the Thames Challenge, and
that's right. He does a
joust.
His thing is ultra, so he became a good friend of mine. Which is what happens, I suppose, when you spend a month in a Range Rover with somebody.
Yeah,
but he was inspired by the MDS and set up Ultra Running Limited.
I'm thinking maybe this is a good point to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and we might talk to you again, Rick, sometime soon.
Yeah, maybe New Year.
Well, yeah.
Maybe we could do.
I mean,
New Year.
Sometime very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean,
Very soon.
no one else does anything on New Year, do they?
No.
Okay, well, happy Christmas, everybody. And I'm sure the three of us will see most of you sometime soon.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, night.